Let's understand the relation between line graph and trend line in this informative broadcasted video. This will be a quick introduction educational video. So let's jump to the real topic. So as I would say here, what is trend line? Majority of the people are trying to use it for a better cause, but most of the people do not know how exactly to use it and where to plot it. Before we jump in how to deploy it, let's try to see what is actually a trend line. And I have written the definitions of it as standardized, but I'm telling you that you need not follow the typical pivot highs and pivot lows to predict the trend. When we say that trend line here, we typically do not want to draw a trend line just for the sake of understanding the direction of it. Okay. A trend line is simply in terms of connecting two graphical locations. No matter how you connect it, financially people use pivot positions to denote it. I have no problems with that, but I have seen that people use trend lines using chart types such as Heikin-Ashi or candlestick pattern. That's wrong. That's why the topic of this informative webinar is relation of trend line with line chart. Okay, you need to know with which graph are you trying to use the trend line, and what does trend line use its basic information gathering principle. Okay, when a dot is formed, its principle is declared there technically. Okay, so let's say a chart is going on and the trend is moving in this direction. Now, as a common man, when you decide trend line, you can just say the market is in uptrend, so you will just draw a trend line in terms of parallel trend line. I'm assuming that the viewers know what is a trend line, but today we are going to fine tune your information on how to use the trend line tool effectively. So let's first summarize what is a trend line in terms of a common man perspective. Whenever you join any highs with respect to previous ones and any lows with reference to previous ones, you are trying to plot the trend. You may use its visual representation as support and resistance identification, okay, which we will see on any chart. But one must understand the most important point is you have to use trend line only on a line chart, because the line chart is constructed on closed price basis. Okay, yes, this is the most important takeaway line in this webinar. Trend line should be always applied on a closed price basis. That is where line chart comes into action. Without wasting time, let's jump to line chart graph. Line chart graph consists of x-axis, y-axis. Everyone knows this. Okay, the only thing that you need to understand is, what does a line chart show us? It shows the closing prices. Yes, the only point to much consider in this informative slide is this point. So let's immediately jump to the application part. We are seeing here Bitcoin's chart on daily basis, okay, because we are trying to find the trend line of it. Okay, now when we see you can clearly see I have chosen trend line by myself. I have drawn it, but I am using the chart as line. The name of this chart is called line chart. Okay, you can clearly see whichever point it has closed it. That means these points which it shows, the price was closed there and then further advanced. In the same way, when we want to draw any trend line, we should connect the extremes of the current price levels and try to predict where is the price headed to. Okay, in the same example, you can join this as a trend line, you can join this two as a trend lines, and the informative in part of this trend line tool is try as many points to join by squeezing the chart. Since it's a daily time frame chart, I'm trying to squeeze almost 1.5 years of data into it. You can see the data has been pulled here from last July. This is today September. The future projection which I'm trying to make of September, we are standing on August 1st. So now what I have tried to make understand myself while analyzing this chart is I could clearly make out Bitcoin is in a downtrend. Now why are basically trend lines being used? Fine, I do understand now the trend line is drawn. Now what's the next step? It's not a fantasy. The trend lines once broken clear the pathway for the coming trend. Friends, this is important part. You could see if somebody would have drawn trend line when the market was here, okay, when the markets were drawing on May 2022, the person could have seen that yes, this is a potential trend. So he could have placed a sell if the current trend line is not broken, and he would have rallied with this underground profit if he would have trailed it. He could have placed a buying position if the markets would have broken this trend line here, assuming the prices would rise high. In this case, right now where we are standing today, I have drawn a resistance line at a price mark of 32,500. Why did I draw so? On what basis was it? First of all, it's a psychological level. And since I am taking the help of trend line, I believe that once these trend lines are, once the prices are coming and integrating them on the price levels where previous resistance was holding the price, there could be an interesting discussion between the buyers and sellers. And if this level is broken, it's assumable that up to the next resistance level prices may rise. But if the prices go and cling again and again and come down, it's a signal of selling for me. So do you see how easier it is for one to use trend lines to basically find the trend and place a positional or intraday trading positional trade just using trend lines, no another technical stuff. The less you clutter your chart with indicators, the more transparency you seek into it. This is what I believe. Thank you for your valuable time once again.